What the heck is Fraysexuality? Let's see. Fraysexual is when someone only experiences sexual attraction towards those they are not deeply connected with and lose that attraction as they get to know the person. Fraysexuality, more like commitment issues, or being a hoe, or both. Hi, I'm Fraysexual.
Hi, gay! I'm Dan!
Let's talk about what Fraysexuality actually is. But first, let me slip into something more comfortable. Ah, that's better. Fraysexuality is a sexual orientation on the asexual spectrum. It is defined as when someone only experiences sexual attraction towards those that they are not deeply connected with, and lose that attraction as they get to know the person. Fraysexual is often described as being the opposite of demisexual. People who come across the term fraysexual tend to assume it's either commitment issues, or being a hoe, or just a normal thing that happens in most relationships, or some kind of psychological issue they need to work out in therapy. But spoiler alert, it is none of these things. On being a hoe, not that there's anything wrong with being a hoe, most fraysexuals aren't any more sexual than most people. I mean, probably less even, because being on the asexual spectrum and everything. Just because we tend to be attracted to people before establishing a close relationship doesn't mean we're down to fuck every stranger we meet. Like most people, we're not attracted to everyone. On commitment issues do exist. I'm not going to deny that. But fraysexuality is someone's experience relating to sexual attraction, which is not the same as getting cold feet and committing to a relationship. In fact, most fraysexual people can and do have healthy long-term relationships and even get married. It's just that by the time it's long-term, the sexual attraction is probably no longer there. They can still feel romantic attraction unless they are fray romantic, and they can still have sex with their partner, even if they might not enjoy it. So, yeah, it's not a commitment thing. Like I've mentioned in my video on autosexuality, which you could watch from a link in the description, I can also be described as fraysexual. It took me a while to come to terms with it, but it's a thing. Regarding the assumption that the concept of fraysexuality is just a normal thing that happens in most relationships, it's assumed that feelings just fade over time, and it might take effort to rekindle that initial passion that you experience at the beginning of a relationship, or they need therapy. And for most people, this is the case, but not so much for people who are legitimately fraysexual. From personal experience, no amount of therapy or good advice could revive my sexual attraction to someone once it faded. I would spend so much time feeling horrible about myself and feeling like something is wrong with me, but after I discovered there's a name for this, I've been working to accept this about myself. Out of all the relationships I've been in, whether short-term or long-term, at some point, sex just wasn't appealing anymore with that person. I wouldn't look at them and think, wow, I want to have sex with them. Even on a logical level, if I were to try to imagine it, I would even recoil at the idea. And it doesn't matter if they're the hottest person alive, or have the best personality, or if I was more attracted to them previously. It applied to everyone across the board. The best way I can describe it is, picture somebody you would probably not be attracted to, like Santa Claus, or your dad. Hopefully not. And then picture them flirting with you and insinuating that they would like to engage in sexual relations. Ugh. That's how I feel when I try to imagine having sex with people I truly love that I've been dating for a long time. It doesn't mean that I won't do it, it just means that it's not really appealing to me and I don't find that person sexually attractive, even if I did previously. Again, some people will suggest that this is normal. Those same people will probably also suggest that it's something that could be worked out in therapy or overcome, or with the right atmosphere, or trying new things in the bedroom. But if it stays consistent and it doesn't change no matter what advice you try, you're probably fraysexual. That being said, I should mention that sexuality is a spectrum, and even within a single person, there can be some variation. For example, someone who is asexual may have enjoyed sex once or twice, but what makes them asexual is that they fit the definition of being asexual most of the time. And even though I'm fraysexual, I can to some degree enjoy sex with people I'm in a long-term relationship with. It can be a fun activity in and of itself. But most of the time, I'm not attracted to my partner sexually, I don't desire sex with them, and again, would sometimes even recoil at the idea. Probably a sign I might be a bit sex repulsed too. Despite the fact that I might enjoy sex with them on a rare occasion, like once a year or something, I'm still fraysexual because my lack of attraction in established relationships is pretty consistent 95% of the time. Now, hot take, and I'm gonna be 100% honest with you guys. Although I mentioned before that fraysexuality is not inherently caused by psychological issues, I also believe that things like trauma can actually influence someone's sexuality to a degree. Trigger warning for the topic ahead. For example, while 99% of asexuals are just naturally that way, someone's response to sexual trauma might be to avoid sex and ultimately decide that they are asexual because it's more comfortable for them. And it's my opinion that those people are just as valid as asexual compared to other asexuals. In my case, I believe that some of my traumas did influence my sexuality, but that doesn't make it any less valid. See, I grew up with something called Christian purity culture, which is pretty common in evangelical and fundamentalist Christianity. It asserts that sex before marriage is wrong, and in some cases, that even emotional closeness with the opposite sex is also wrong in the same way. As you can imagine, that last part made it difficult for me to get close to people, and I felt a lot of shame around getting close to people, even platonically. While I thankfully don't feel that shame anymore, I do still struggle with closeness, which might be one reason why my sexual attraction fades when I get close to someone. And honestly, I've always hated this about myself, especially when it would upset my partners, so I naturally did try to fix it with therapy. And while I did find healing for a lot of other things through therapy, this aspect of my sexuality never changed. And I don't think that I can change it. It's pretty hardwired into my brain at this point. But there's ultimately nothing wrong with that. There's no sense in shaming myself for being this way, especially if I can't change it. I can still have fulfilling long-term relationships with people, it's just that sex isn't part of the equation most of the time. And if I'm with a partner who's totally fine with that, I don't see an issue. That's just me though. Most people who are fraysexual are probably that way naturally, like most other sexual orientations. And I myself have always had a natural tendency towards asexuality even before I was exposed to purity culture. As a kid, I decided I'm never getting married, and I was never interested in boys or girls until I was older, and even then it wasn't sexual. I was mostly romantically interested in people and just wanted to cuddle and spend time together. Sex just wasn't on my mind, aside from being a kind of curiosity. So yeah, if you're fraysexual, know that there is nothing wrong with you. It can really suck to deal with, especially in relationships, but know that you are not broken. You can have fulfilling relationships of all kinds, including long-term ones if you wish, without all the pressure of being consistently sexual all the time. And for some people, alternative relationship arrangements like polyamory or consensual non-monogamy work pretty well for both partners involved, and it seems like it could be a suitable option for some fraysexual people.
Or friends with benefits, definitely that.
Just be sure to communicate the way your sexuality works and what you're looking for, and only get involved with people who are okay with your sexuality. Fraysexuals won't be everyone's cup of tea, and that's okay. I know for a fact, though, that there are people who are accepting of it, and I hope that you'll be able to find them, as rare as they might seem. So yeah, thank you for taking the time to watch my video, to learn about this topic, and if you're still here, congratulations, you're awesome. And if you like my videos, hit some of the buttons on the screen. 1 like and subscribe equals 1 waffle for Lucia, and hitting the bell icon and selecting all equals all the waffles for Lucia. Fun fact about me, I like waffles. Also, I'm disabled, and this is my only job, which pays me about $60 a month from all of my work combined. And while I love what I do, alas, one cannot live on passion alone. So if you want to help support the channel, we have a Patreon and YouTube memberships, which both have the same benefits. Or you could request a dirt cheap art commission from me. Links in the description. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
A blooper.
But first, let me slip into something more comfortable. It's falling. Everything's falling. Things I like about being autistic.
Number 1.
Feeling high all the time. Okay, maybe not 24/7, but definitely very often. I have a strong visual mind, vivid dreams and imagination, and an overall rich perception of life.